What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Culture 316 podcast. I'm one of your hosts and producers, Jordan Nahisi.
Joined by your co-host, Mo. What is up, people?
And I just want to thank you guys so much for your support. Thank you guys so much for tapping in with us. If you are tapping in with us via Apple Podcasts or Spotify Podcasts or wherever podcasts can be streamed, be sure to give us a 5 stars and subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. It's been an eventful week in wrestling, so we're not going to waste any more time. We're going to get right into it. First things first, it has been reported by multiple outlets in the wrestling community that it is official that Mercedes Moné's contract makes her the highest paid woman in the history of professional wrestling. Our article on Forbes said that it fell short a little bit of $5 million. But I wanted to know how you felt about Mercedes Moné being the highest paid woman in the history of pro wrestling.
Big OW for Black women. Okay, I feel like Black women in this industry has came such a long way between the oppression that was dealt with behind the scenes, on screen, getting the short end of the stick just with, I guess, booking. I really honestly feel like when it came down to Mercedes, although she didn't initiate the women's revolution, we gotta give that to AJ, right? She was a major part of it. She definitely picked up where AJ left off with the Divas era, and we had the Four Horsewomen. I feel like out of all of them, the one that I really like, I think everyone could agree they locked their eyes in on what really was the most noticeable shift in women's wrestling came through Mercedes. And this is something that she literally has lived, breathed, and died for all her life to do. And the woman just gets better and better and better. Every time I see her, every year I see her, she really cares for making a difference in this sport, in any industry, in any promotion that she's in. She's revolutionized women's wrestling, and I just feel like if any person that, again, unfortunately wasn't Lita or Trish that could have got it, or AJ that could have got it, I definitely feel like if I had to give it to anybody, Sasha Banks or Mercedes Moné, it has to be.
Yeah.
Now, granted, I know that when she went over to WWE, there's a certain number that she wanted and honor it. I'm not sure if this is the exact number she wanted out of Tony Khan or not, but all I know is that the number itself, or her having this prestigious amount, is definitely warranted. I think she definitely earned it. I can't think of a better woman that could have had got this amazing accolade. And honestly, I'm proud of her. I'm very proud of her. I'm proud of her as a wrestling fan. I'm proud of her as a Black woman. I love Mercedes Moné. What do you think about this?
To kind of piggyback off of what you're saying, big W for Black women, big W for women's wrestling fans, big W for women's wrestling. It's the people who are at the forefront of the industry that have the power to set the trend. And I believe the most exciting thing for me isn't necessary that the biggest thing for me, the biggest takeaway for me is that if Mercedes Moné can command these numbers, if someone can achieve popularity, then that number is not too far out of reach for the next people in line. I feel like even with WWE, and they've progressed significantly, it's not a secret. The women in WWE don't get paid as much as the men. And sometimes they are selling merch just as rapidly as the men. And they're doing numbers, and they have that mainstream crossover appeal that the men do. But I feel like a Mercedes Moné commanding these numbers isn't just good for her, but it's good for women. It lets people know that this is possible. It lets people know that this can be the standard. And I believe that not just Black women, but all women should be able to be properly compensated, especially when they are great at what they do and they're at the top of their game. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, short of $5 million is big money. I'm not gonna lie, that's a bag. That's a bag. And I believe that in her contract and in part of her negotiations, it said that Mercedes would have some direct contact with Warner Brothers Discovery, which, if you know of her Hollywood aspirations, you know that that's big. Warner Brothers Discovery is a huge media conglomerate. They've produced multiple DC movies. Obviously, they also are in charge of a lot of the distribution that happens with Abbott Elementary and and All American and things like that, and they are a historic a historic brand when it comes to arts and entertainment. And so for Mercedes Monet to not only have access to that bag, but to that direct contact at Warner Brothers to allow her to flourish and do other ventures, I think it's super exciting. And it changes the game. It has the potential to set the standard for what women wrestlers can expect out of a contract. But we'll see what happens next. But let us know about how you feel about Mercedes Monet allegedly being the highest paid woman in the history of professional wrestling. We are going to be moving on. So, speaking of women's wrestling, it seems like WrestleMania weekend has a little bit of an unexpected twist because it was announced this past week that Shayna Baszler has been booked for GCW Blood Sport. And it's going to be happening during WrestleMania week in Philadelphia. I have to check to see who her opponent is. It was at the top of Masha Slamovich, who I believe is a member of TNA Wrestling. So we're getting Masha Slamovich versus Shayna Baszler at GCW Bloodsport. So I wanted to know, how do you feel about Shayna Baszler making an indie show appearance during WrestleMania week at a non-WWE event, if that makes sense?
It's freaking awesome. For me at least, because I actually love Shayna Baszler. I was a little bit late to watching NXT 1.0, but one of my few favorite women that stuck out to me because she was just someone that was just so different than what I was used to seeing.
Mm-hmm.
Before I took a pause from wrestling was Shayna because she definitely didn't look like a diva. You know, she has her
Yeah.
very rugged look. She's definitely a real life MMA fighter. Like she's about it, but she's not just like an MMA fighter that just felt like wrestling. She actually knows her shit. Like she knows her
Right.
history. I
That's a
used to
fact.
like stalk her Instagram and her Twitter, and she's like post like really old references of like the wrestling moves that she would do or practice. She would post like the references from like the 50s and the 60s and stuff like that, and cite the people and explain where it came from. I find her really cool. She's very passionate, but she's like low key about it. Um, she, I feel like, doesn't get enough credit for her helping in NXT 1.0 because she was ripping through these bitches, bro. Like she was
She was dogging them
you
out.
you could not touch Shayna. Like, yo, there was a point where like I loved her so much, and then Bianca came on the scene, and like I really wanted Bianca to win, but I couldn't get mad because like she was like the Brock Lesnar almost basically
She was.
on NXT 1.0. Like she was good. She was good. She was different, and it was such a shame to watch her the way she got placed on the main roster because it almost felt like they didn't know what to do with her.
Yeah.
Last time I checked, they had her biting on a body part of Becky or something like that, and then she faded off to the back. They gave her like the tag team titles at some point, and then afterwards, she just felt very much regular. I'm very happy that whoever, and sorry for me not knowing the name that called her. I know a male figure called her that was a fan of her work. Um, and I'm happy that someone did
Mm.
because she had to put on some classics. And I know if you just give her an opportunity and to just like get a second wind, she's gonna take it and she's gonna own it. You know, hopefully that turns out to be a different path for her because I really feel like I don't know how old she is. I really don't know, but I would love to see her have a single titles gold on her before she retires because she deserves it. So I'm interested. I know nothing about this Masha individual. I was trying to like take a look at her Twitter account. She looks a little familiar. What was you know anything about this Masha person?
Masha is a part of TNA Wrestling, if I'm not mistaken. I'm going to keep doing my due diligence and finding out. Uh,
GCW World Champion, TNA Knockout,
yeah,
MK
she's
Ultra,
a part. She
GCW.
was one half of the Knockouts tag team champions. Her and Killer Kelly,
Oh, I
and
heard of her.
they do
Mhm.
great work in TNA. So I have heard of her. I have seen her matches. She is in TNA. Um,
Oh, this is
and
solid then.
I think this is going to be a good match. I think that on a standpoint of Shayna Baszler, like you said, when we saw her in NXT 1.0, I think, in my opinion, I think that Shayna Baszler in NXT was booked better than Ronda Rousey at any point in her WWE career. And
Yeah.
I feel like Shayna is just she was presented as a dominant champion, as a dominant woman. She had Jessamine Duke and I forgot the other woman's name, but
Marina Shafir.
Marina Shafir had them, and they were like a nice little stable. So I love Shayna. I love Shayna. I love her work. And, I feel like this is also one of those partnerships and things that just make sense. Like Shayna and GCW makes sense. When you think about GCW as a company and the things that we've seen from GCW, Shayna fits right into that mold. And this is one of those things that kind of makes sense. In that same article, it said that I think Josh Barnett is his name, has had a great amount of respect for Triple H. And this kind of goes back to something that Triple H said not too long ago, and that is that, WWE is open for business and that they're willing to do deals when the opportunity is right and when the opportunity makes sense. And I get it now because this is one of those opportunities that are right and that makes sense. So, that's how I feel about it. But I want to know how you guys feel about it. Shayna Baszler, GCW Bloodsport X during WrestleMania week. Let us know in the comments below. But we're moving on, and this news just warmed my heart. It was announced this past week that on Peacock, premiering on April 1st, WWE has announced a Bray Wyatt documentary narrated by none other than the Hall of Famer, The Undertaker. It's going to be releasing on April 1st. I want to know how you feel about it. Bray Wyatt, April 1st documentary.
Dude, that just warms my heart. And dude, like what an honor to have like the greatest, well, for me, the greatest legend of all time, The Undertaker of all people, narrate your life. Like that is awesome. And then it's so fitting too because Bray Wyatt was like the next person that we saw probably since The Undertaker that was like a supernatural character. Not like The Undertaker, but like the supernatural like concept. He kind of kept that consistent where he almost blended in like the unreal and the real. So it's very fitting that Taker took the time to do this because he doesn't have to, you know what I mean? But it goes to show you how beloved Bray was across the roster that, I mean, even a legend wants to come out and do his due diligence and present his documentary. He deserves a documentary. He really does because his death is just so unfortunate. But I'm very interested in learning about him because it feels like we learned a lot about him, but he's also private, if you will. And I'm very interested to see like who's featured in it. I'm expecting obviously JoJo probably is going to have her own little
Absolutely
feature and talking about him. Maybe most of the roster is going to discuss him. I feel like it's going to have the same heaviness as when Eddie passed. And he had a whole special himself, and everyone was bawling their eyes out, but they all had a very powerful and heavy story about Eddie's impact. That's what I'm anticipating with this. So I don't know. You have any thoughts on it?
So I think, like you said, right at the Bray Wyatt, one of the most creative minds that pro wrestling has ever seen.
Yeah.
And one of the most captivating characters, one of the most unique personalities and people. The he was the new face of fear, right? And to have someone like The Undertaker who was synonymous with that dark mystical character in WWE and in pro wrestling for the better part of 30 years is an absolute honor. I'm very, very interested in learning more about Bray Wyatt as a human being, because we've seen his work right firsthand from when he first started with the Wyatt family to his last match as kind of this updated, rekindled version of himself. So I am very, very interested to see kind of who is the person that was behind all of this. And I do agree that this is going to be heavy. I don't know if it's going to be as heavy as Eddie's. I feel like Eddie's special was very heavy because it was the day after his passing. Day after, like a couple days after his passing. So I feel like people were still sitting with it. I feel like this is going to be a phenomenal piece, though. I feel like if they took all this time to work on something like this, I feel like this is going to be insane. And I'm just super looking forward to it. But I want to know how everybody else feels below about Bray Wyatt having his own WWE documentary. But we're moving on. So, this past week in AEW, there have been a couple things that have happened that have shaken up the product quite a bit. 14 days after he was announced to be a part of the All Elite Wrestling roster, Kazuchika Okada defeated Eddie Kingston to win the AEW Continental Championship. And of course, Mo's favorite ex, Adam Copeland, is also the AEW TNT Championship. Both of these happen in Toronto. Obviously, they are en route building up towards AEW Dynasty that will be happening in St. Louis on April 21st. But I want to know, with these title changes happening, do you believe that AEW is turning a corner, especially with Edge winning and Okada winning and Mercedes, really stepping into her role in the women's division? Do you think that AEW is turning a corner? Are we seeing a resurgence in AEW?
Possibly. Now I didn't watch on Wednesday, so I can only speak about it from maybe like a business point of view. But if this was WWE, they would naturally interject a main event star into a world title picture, whatever
Mm,
route that would be right away. And so that you can never envision them playing around with the mid cards. So like they never really get to cross. So I find it interesting that they took the best, and they're trying to give them the mid card titles to add not only importance to them, but also make the journey longer and
hmm
better, to sink your teeth in and lean forward into your screen for when it's time to actually get the big one, while also simultaneously giving people who've been part of the roster already, that already got their storylines going, time to actually like earn the title, work for the title. Because you
mm,
know how like when it comes to WWE, sometimes people get frustrated for like, let's just use Goldberg for example.
mm.
If Goldberg came in right now, like boom, they're gonna try to put him in a title picture, which they did. And then
Right.
it pissed off everybody else that been there working for years. Like, hey, like I've been trying to get into this main event title, and you just signed this person. You're gonna give them my spot, what I've been trying to work for.
hmm
So I find it very interesting that they're taking larger than life stars and they're placing them there to give um give everyone a chance to work with them.
mm,
Give everyone a chance to get better, get screen time. And I support them all having the mid card belts. By the way, I support them having them for at least a few months. Okada means Okada, so he has to hold on to it for like at least a year or two.
Right.
But I like the idea that they're playing the long game. It gives them a lot more time to plan.
Mm.
So I like it. Ooh, I just threw my laptop off to the side. I'm sorry for y'all watching. But you know, I think it's cool. So congrats to Okada. Edge, I mean, I don't think Edge really cares to have a belt over there. I just think he wants to help out. Same way he helped out with the E, he wants to help out with this group of people over here with the title. But it's
Agreed.
cool nonetheless to see my ex, if you will, with some gold. I really wish he would stop playing around, because it would have been nice if he could have said goodbye to me when I departed from Twitter.
Oh my
Um,
god.
I'm still convinced, y'all, that the love is there, and that maybe this may be like he shed a thug tear when he saw my little deactivation, show. But it's all love, I guess. I guess. Um, congrats to him. Is Mercedes actually pivoted, by the way, to be going for the TBS title? Is that actually a thing, or is that just a rumor?
Well, it looks like there are a couple things that are brewing. One is potentially rekindling her feud with Willow, and obviously the Julia Hart confrontation kind of sparked kind of a rumor that she was going for the TBS title, which I actually don't mind. But um, to kind of piggyback off of what you said, I think it is also a very, very interesting kind of method that they are adding people of value to these prestigious championships. We don't we like I think that that's what makes it so exciting. Edge
Mhm.
is a former multiple time world champion. Kazuchika Okada is a former multiple time world champion.
Yeah.
And so when you add people like this to the mix and you add them to these certain title pictures, it automatically elevates the title picture.
Hmm.
And I think, especially with the Continental title, I think that that's having Okada win that is perfect because it's a newly introduced title. Obviously Eddie Kingston won it. He's the first ever Continental champion. And I believe he had a great title run. And I don't think there's any shame in losing it to someone who has been widely regarded as one of the best pro wrestlers on the planet for the past 10 years.
Hmm.
Um, so I think that this is actually a very, very smart strategy. And I think it causes the entire show to be must see. Because
Yeah.
if you see a guy like, if you have a TNT champion, and obviously he may not be as credible as an Adam Copeland, you may tune out. But Edge is
Hmm.
a world champion, former world champion. And stuff like that causes you to tune in to a TNT title program. Things with Kazuchika Okada and what he's doing with the Elite cause you to tune into the Continental title picture because of who Okada is. So I think it's
Yeah.
actually a pretty good strategy, especially since we've been talking for months about the star power of AEW. And I think
Yeah.
this is just kind of a great way to kind of go about it. But yeah, man, I like what they're doing. I really, really like what they're doing with these title pictures. So shout outs to Tone Khan. But yeah,
What'd
let
you
us
call
know.
him?
I called him Tone Khan. That's my guy now.
Tone Khan is
Tone
crazy.
Khan. Tone. But
Yo, I
let
hate
us know
this
how y'all
man.
feel about this in the comments. And let us know about how you feel about these guys winning these titles and adding more prestige and value to those championship pictures. But we're going to be moving on. So, Dave Meltzer had a very, very interesting theory that I wanted to unpack on this show. He says that Jack Perry is not fired from All Elite Wrestling. However, Tony Khan is mad at Jack Perry because to him, Jack Perry cost him CM Punk. Did Jack Perry cost Tony Khan CM Punk, or is this just an overreaction?
I understand everyone's a CM Punk fan and the man's great at what he does and stuff like that, but we all need to just come to terms that Punk screwed Punk. And he didn't even screw himself because he's money wherever he goes.
Right.
Okay. Tony Khan had to make an example out of Punk. All right. It just so happened that it was this situation, but Punk could have just not reacted. And I mean, Jack Perry had his own part too. It's definitely 50-50. You know what I mean? If you're gonna press somebody, you know, expect for something to happen, I guess. But I mean, he got himself fired, but I don't know why we're still on this. I don't think anyone's worried about what Jack Perry's actually doing over there. It's just stupid to me at this point. It's a little stupid that it's still being discussed, and that people are still trying to break it down or whatnot. 'Cause at the end of the day, it all boils down that Tony Khan's just upset because he was the biggest CM Punk mark,
Yeah.
and it's like it's like that one ex that just won't let it go, is what it's giving. Yeah,
Keep going though.
I don't know about that, but it's given very much that. Like, I could totally see Tony Khan leaving CM Punk so many voicemails. It's just probably loaded, like begging for him to come back and whatnot, and it's just not happening because at the end of the day, Punk was leaving anyways. He just left faster because of Jack Perry. That's all that it was.
Right.
And Jack's doing his own thing. It looks like he's happy. It ended up being like not what he wanted, but I mean everything happens for a reason. And Punk left, and you since then gained Edge, Okada, and Mercedes. So
Yeah.
again, like you're doing fine. Why are we entertaining this?
Right.
It's silly. And Jack Perry is doing what he's doing over there. I don't think it's really elevating his character or anyone's really worried about what he's doing over there. But like, you're good. You got your major stars. You lost Punk. You're most likely not getting him back, even if you get on good terms. Like, let it go, Tony Khan. Just let it go. It's getting weird, actually. It's getting very weird.
I'm gonna have to agree with that.
What do you think about
is,
it?
It is getting weird. For starters, I feel like just the commentary surrounding this incident is just pouring new gasoline on an old flame, if that makes sense. And it's just like, bro, we in March. Like, Punk done went to a whole new company, got injured again. Like, why are we still talking about? Like, yes, Jack, listen, everybody's responsible for their own actions. I feel like any rational human being with a developed frontal lobe can tell you that. So, I mean, I don't think anybody cost Punk or anybody cost Tony Khan except for Punk himself because, whatever he did. But I mean, Jack Perry, did he have a part to play? Yeah, absolutely. Was it a little bit childish? Yeah, absolutely. But it's just one of those, like, does it even matter anymore?
Yeah.
Like, I don't think it does. I don't think it does. Like you said, AEW has racked up so many free agents. We didn't even talk about Deonna Purrazzo, right? Like, she's another big free agent. So it's like obviously Tony's doing well, like AEW's doing well. I don't know why we are still on the CM Punk Jack Perry thing. I'm pretty sure people moved on.
They doesn't move on from much though.
Yeah, I mean, but once again, like I think it's just time to just put this whole thing to rest. It's been enough. enough. That should have been left in 2023. Okay. But that's really all I have to say about that. But want to know how y'all feel about this Jack Perry CM Punk commentary via Dave Meltzer. Let us know in the comments below. But we're moving on, because this is a very, very interesting little tidbit that got put out, because there was an interview with Mojo Rawley, former WWE superstar, and he said that WWE had plans for a Mercedes Moné versus Megan the Stallion. Sasha versus Meg. I need to know what how would you have felt about this? How would you have gone about this? Where would this match have been? Tell me, how do you feel about this overall?
Well, first thing, this is really funny and ironic because the wrestling fans on the internet have been saying for years that Megan Thee Stallion be getting on stage dressed like a wrestler. So it's really funny that it became full circle, that somebody out there wanted to entertain the idea of putting them together. That'd be great. I don't think we ever had an encounter of a female celebrity, maybe like Snooki, I remember, but I don't really remember like a female celebrity actually for real getting in the ring. So that'd be cool, because not for nothing, like Megan keeps herself in shape, but that girl keeps her body yaddy on point. What kind of match? Because it would be on AEW grounds, right? If that was the case, right?
I mean, they said that it was going to be happening in WWE, not
in
AEW.
WWE.
Yeah.
Oh, ooh. Do I see Megan getting violent? I feel like it would have to be a stipulation match, but I don't see her picking up like a weapon or something. So, like, but I could see her being silly and extra and jumping off of something. I don't know why I would like to see Megan in a ladder match. That'd be so funny to me.
Funny thing is, I was thinking that same thing too.
Really?
But for what though? Like what are we fighting for the possession of?
That's the question.
Hottie sauce? Like what are we?
Hottie sauce is crazy.
What are we fighting over the possession for Megan Thee Stallion and Sasha? I don't know.
Right, because I feel like if anything, they would get along. What I could see better is if like they had wrestler align with some celebrity, like if they had Cardi and Megan for fun or something like that, or Nikki and Megan if you really want the bullshit. Yeah, if it was on WWE, I think we already seen Bianca and Megan together, so that's already a faction. Right. And then we all know that Mercedes loves and lives and dies Nikki. So I'm just saying that as a tag team or even a manager would be so funny. Just alone, just to see Nikki, because Nikki won't fight. Nikki won't do nothing. All right. I don't see Nikki ever sign a contract to throw hands. All right. That girl stands behind her security. But it'd be really funny just to see the camera cuts of them arguing with each other. Because Nikki's not going to get close to Megan. But she will run her mouth.
She will talk.
She will be behind her security.
She will pull the most Queens girl promo of all time. She'll have fighting words, but no fighting hands.
Right. She's going to run her mouth behind a bunch of security. That would be hilarious. And then just have a Cardi be interfering.
Just interfere.
You see a shoe get thrown again? I didn't know I need a shoe thrown again.
Nah, not the chancla. Zelina would give Cardi the chancla to throw at Nikki.
Oh my God, yes. Actually, yes. Zelina would come in with the interference. It would be so messy. You would forget about the whole Bianca versus Sasha reboot.
Thing, yeah.
You would forget about that whole entire reboot, and it would just be so messy. As a matter of fact, WWE, is there still time? Like, is there still time? Like, can y'all make amends for like 5 minutes? Because now I realize what I've been missing out of my life. Carmella's gonna be so mad though, because Carmella's been trying to get one of these girls' attention, and
for years, and they don't care.
And she fired at the moment. Like, there's so much you could do here. There's so much you could do here, and it'd be so fun. And I feel like Megan would be just goofy and fun about it, and she would actually entertain it. I can't tell she'd be good like a Bad Bunny, but I could tell she would actually take it seriously for what it was.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know. What do you see? Do you have any like ideas, hypotheticals?
Ooh, well, first of all, it would have been at SummerSlam, because Hot Girl SummerSlam, the merch would have been insane. I would have gotten a shirt. I would have gotten a Hot Girl SummerSlam shirt. But I mean, I feel like there's so many ways they could have gone about it. Like you said, they could have had Megan versus Sasha, and it was like Sasha and like a faction, or like Sasha and Bailey. trying to like pick on Megan, and then Megan has Bianca, and then that could have been like a kind of like a little reboot or call back to their WrestleMania match. So I feel like there's
Oh,
so
now I
many
want a
ways that
Beyonce interference. I just thought about it.
Beyonce interfering. That's never happening. That's never happening. That's never happened. You thought that Angie would lost his mind when he went to ringside of WrestleMania 35? He would be in the ring right next to Beyonce. Like, yo, we have the same procession. We're in the same profession now.
He's underneath the ring right now.
Right. I'm gonna look at the phone like, how's it underneath the ring? Nah, but I feel like that could be a great thing. I mean, that could have been a great thing. Obviously, we know how much Megan Thee Stallion loves just alternative forms of entertainment, whether it's anime, whether it's pro wrestling. And that would have been just like a seamless fit for her, especially there would have been so many product integrations now, especially with the Nike deal that she has. I feel like it just would have been a great thing for both sides. But, you know, hopefully we get that sometime in the future. But
she said she's coming back anyways. We're going to get it.
Yeah, we're going to get it. We're going to get it. But let us know how you feel about Megan Thee Stallion versus Sasha Banks being a potential thing. But that concludes our show for today. Thank y'all so much for joining us. We'll be back same time next week, and we'll see you later.